Podcast. Who is
Hello.
not going to say hi because he's drinking water. No, I'm kidding. And then we've also got Ben here from Monster Popcorn.
Hello.
And today we're actually starting this kooky new thing where we thought, hey, since our name's Geeks Podcast, maybe we should have an actual regular podcast. So to make up for lost time, we're going to try to do 100 in 100 days, not necessarily consecutively, but pretty close. And hopefully we can, get back in some of your good graces for not having this kind of squared away already. But today's topic is going to be Edgar Wright leaving Ant-Man and a little bit of talk about the MCU in general. So Ben, actually, do you want to kick this off and tell everybody a little bit about what happened and how that news broke?
Well, I think it was this past week, within this past week, that Marvel announced, along with Edgar Wright, that he was leaving Ant-Man due to creative differences. This seems very odd in that the movie's about to start filming like in a month or so. Like this is
right,
really because it comes out in 2015. Like I think November. Right. So like their window of replacing him is very, very small, and it just seemed very odd. Also, just because Edgar Wright's been on this project for 8 years, since 2006.
Right?
Are you serious? 8 years?
Yeah. So that was when this was announced. And
wow.
So he's been in the process of curating this movie into what he envisioned it to be, and in I think 2013, Kevin Feige, who's Marvel Studios head honcho,
right?
He told MTV that Edgar Wright's vision is the only reason they're making the movie.
So let me get this straight. Edgar Wright's like the catalyst for the entire thing really existing or being a plausible addition to the MCU, and then he bails or, for creative reasons, takes off like just before the thing's about to get going.
Exactly. And I found out some of the particulars as to why that happened, and of course, with most of this, you can take it with a grain of salt because we weren't actually there.
Sure.
But apparently, Marvel or someone at Disney was unhappy with Edgar's take on the movie for a few weeks, and then they pushed back the production because I think it was supposed to begin filming already. But they pushed back production so that they could get script revisions, and I think Marvel provided a bunch of notes, I think, in regards to the morality of the character, because in Edgar Wright's script that he co-wrote with Joe Cornish, Scott Lang is the main character, and he's a criminal who steals the Ant-Man suit from Hank Pym, and over the course of the movie learns to become a hero. Apparently, someone at Marvel, or again, maybe even Disney, maybe Disney's starting to get their fingers in. They didn't like that he was a criminal and wanted some changes made. Wright was willing to make some revisions, but apparently it still was not enough. So Marvel hired outside writers to revise the script without Edgar Wright's input. And
that's kind of
that would have made me mad.
That would have, and right there, that might have been enough for Edgar to be up in arms and just leave the project, but he decided to wait it out and see what the new writers, would provide, and see if it's something that was workable and something that he could make. The script was turned in, and it was terrible. Edgar said goodbye, and I'm not making this movie.
Wow. Now that's weird to me that Disney would kind of to get. I mean, assuming it's true, again, taking it with a grain of salt. If that is the case, though, that Disney had an issue with his vision of that criminal storyline you're telling, because to me that sounds amazing. Because I don't think there's really been a hero that's had that kind of an arc yet in any of Marvel's movies.
It's funny how Ben brought that up, because in an episode of the Avengers, that the cartoon show on Disney, when they introduced Scott Lang, he was a criminal. He stole the Ant-Man suit. I guess they were okay with it then, but oh wait, we're going to show it to millions of people. maybe we should not do that.
Right.
But the thing that I find kind of funny is that Ant-Man pretty much only exists because Edgar Wright decided he wanted to do that movie. And the only interest I had in it, I mean, granted, Marvel Studios, their track record has been pretty good. I'll go see any Marvel Studios movie. So even if they had made Ant-Man, I probably would have gone to see it. But the real reason that I wanted to see it and was incredibly excited about it was because of Edgar Wright. And without Edgar Wright,
absolutely. 'Cause, I mean,
it just doesn't seem.
He just does no wrong in my eyes.
And he's evolved as a filmmaker. I mean, if you look back at Shaun of the Dead, through World's End, he's totally changed. He's like grown up.
Well, one of the things about Edgar Wright is that he executes his personal vision of his films. So I don't really see him curtailing to a studio and changing stuff and making a movie he's not excited about. Right. And obviously I think that's kind of what happened here. And Marvel Studios is very well known for being kind of nitpicky and interfering. Like Patty Jenkins, who directed the movie Monster, she was hired to direct Thor 2, but was fired shortly into the pre-production phase, and Alan Taylor replaced her. But then after Alan Taylor shot the movie, Marvel ordered him to do a bunch of reshoots, and apparently the first 10 minutes of Thor 2 is not his. He didn't.
Really?
He never shot it.
Really?
Or he never wanted it. And then they also removed Alan Taylor from editing the movie.
Wow.
So there's been other filmmakers like Jon Favreau, Kenneth Branagh, Joe Johnston. They've all faced interference from Marvel and they didn't return. Like Favreau got a lot of interference on Iron Man 2, and that's why we didn't see Favreau returning for Iron Man 3.
Well,
I was curious. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, didn't Edward Norton have creative differences with Marvel over the Incredible, and that's why Mark Ruffalo replaced him as the Hulk in the Avengers?
Yeah.
Now I heard he was just a douchebag. That's what I heard about Norton departing.
I've heard that too, but I have heard that there's been creative differences also with the guy who played War Machine in the first one. What is his name?
Terrence Howard. Yeah.
There was also that rumor that he's a douchebag, but I don't know. I don't know them personally, so I can't say that one way or the other. But
right.
I also think that there may have been some creative differences, or perhaps a financial thing, like he wanted too much money or something. So Marvel's not afraid to get their hands dirty and get what they want, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it's more of like a group collective making these movies, and if the quality of the movies continues, then what they are doing is a good thing, but they perhaps should not look towards people with very specific visions and personalities.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Ant-Man. I was never a huge Ant-Man fan. I mean, I always kind of considered him sort of a B-list sort of hero. I mean, I know that he's certainly got a fan base of this movie wouldn't be able to come to fruition at all. But I think like you, and probably you too, Zeke, when I heard that Edgar Wright was attached to it, I got really excited because, I mean, the dude hasn't made a ton of movies, but everything he has made, I've absolutely adored. And I feel like he's really good at taking characters and just, making them very multi-layered and, just very fun to watch on the screen, and I assume that same kind of love and craft will go into his vision for Ant-Man.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I was.
We're cutting each other off. Damn it! All right, Zeke, you go.
All right, fine. When I first heard Edgar Wright was gonna direct Ant-Man, I was super psyched because I loved every movie that he's made. Because they're really good. I mean, what can I say? They're just simply amazing. And then when I heard they released his test footage, that was incredible. Like how Ant-Man comes out in an elevator, like shrinks down, and then like you see him like running across the gun barrel and then punching a guy in the face. I mean, I would love to see a full-length feature film of that.
Sure. I need to see that footage because I never got to see it. And now that Edgar's off, I'm like, that's my only chance to see what it might look like.
Right. There's some grainy test footage, but it'll be totally worth it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I would actually be interested in seeing if like his script is somewhere out there online and read it.
Yeah, if it's not, I'm sure that it will be.
Yeah, hopefully. But I agree with Zeke. Like I think his movies are really good, and I think he's kind of a brilliant filmmaker. And if you watch his movies, the more you watch them, the more details you get out of his films, and I think that's really awesome. He's one of the few filmmakers that layers his movies so densely with just like anything, jokes, themes, visual gags. Like every single time you watch one of his movies, again you'll see something new, and that's what I really like about him.
Oh yeah, I thought The World's End was a good culmination of that too.
Yeah, so I was probably just as excited that Edgar Wright was doing Ant-Man as Joss Whedon was doing the Avengers. So without Edgar Wright, I'm not as enthused about the movie, especially since I heard that the script sucks.
But here's the thing. I mean, clearly, like, it's going to be really funny when we just sit here and we defend Edgar Wright and make a big stink about it. We're going to find out that he wanted to like have a Scott Pilgrim cameo or something. He just went way off his rocker and that news breaks. But like, despite the fact that he is no longer attached to the film, would that stop either of you from going to see it?
Of course not.
No, of course not. But I would want to do some sort of sign of solidarity for him. Like I loved what Joss Whedon did, which tweet a photo of himself looking down like he's sad and he's just holding up a cornetto wrapper.
Right.
I didn't see it.
I think that says a lot because I think Whedon kind of felt bad for what happened to him as far as what Marvel interceded with his vision.
Oh yeah, and no, correct me if I'm wrong. When Ant-Man actually does make its debut and everything, that is the beginning of Phase 3, is it not? Doesn't Phase 2 end with Avengers: Age of Ultron, and then Phase 3 starts with Ant-Man?
I believe so, yeah. But the question is, are they going to actually? I mean, Marvel has stated that they're still going to make the movie, and with production starting, in July, like, is that actually going to happen? Like, are they going to find someone who's going to direct the thing, utilizing everything that Edgar Wright's prevised or just planned out? Because that person's not going to have a lot of time to plan out a lot of things.
Now that's an interesting question. I'm curious to hear both of your answers to this. With his departure, if you could pick one director to take the helm or somebody who you thought was capable to take that and run with it, respect happened, who would you pick to do the Ant-Man movie and direct it in his stead?
That's a tough one.
Zack Snyder.
You pick Zack Snyder for everything. He did Watchmen,
No.
like that was it.
Which one? I love it. I can't say it enough.
I don't know who I would. Let's go with Drew Goddard since he got kicked off Daredevil.
Ooh, okay. I'll take that.
Oh, speaking of Daredevil, did you hear who is going to play him? I believe.
I saw that was announced today, but I didn't know who the actor was. I'm not familiar with any of his work, I don't think.
I can't remember his name, but he
Charlie
was on
Cox.
Boardwalk Empire.
He was on Boardwalk Empire? Then I should know who this guy is. Who did he play in Boardwalk Empire?
I don't know. I haven't watched Boardwalk Empire yet. You may have to look this up.
So good.
Yeah, but
the Daredevil series too. That's another one that I was super psyched about because Drew Goddard was running the thing, and he's not. And now I'm like, oh crap, Marvel, what are you doing? I'm questioning every decision you make now. Like that.
They're really out to target you, Ben.
They are. They are. No. I mean, because they reported that he left to focus on the Sinister Six movie, which is probably not. I mean, there might be some small truth to that, but I think it was, again, creative differences, because he had written 2 episodes that I guess Marvel wasn't really that enthused about his direction, and they had disagreements on casting. So he's been replaced by a fellow Buffy the Vampire Slayer writer, Stephen S. DeKnight, which he was a showrunner on Spartacus, which I never got into, so I don't know how I feel about DeKnight taking over.
Right.
But we'll see. I want it to work.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
mean, I guess that's all we can do.
I want Marvel
to
continue making great things. I don't
so
like
far,
these recently reported, bits where they're having like divorces with amazingly creative people.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even though Marvel certainly has kind of an established history of butting heads and just having no qualms about dropping somebody from one of their productions, they still have not made a movie as Marvel Studios that I would point to and say that was just a bad movie. Even on their worst day, they're still pretty decent. Even if they do kind of have to live under the shadow of, okay, that movie's kind of a springboard for the Avengers, for example.
And Marvel Studios is getting really ballsy. I mean, they have, if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, they can go pretty much anywhere they want to. I mean, if they're going to take, like, a raccoon, a tree, a green man, the guy from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's not what his name is. Like, it's Andy. Andy's in a Marvel movie. He's the newest hero.
I was going to say, what's his name in the Lego movie?
But I mean, if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy and the risk they're taking on that, why can't they take a risk on Edgar Wright for Ant-Man? I mean, I don't get it.
They'll do a raccoon, but not Edgar Wright.
We were talking about how it could have been like Scott Lang as a criminal. What if it was Hank Pym as an abusive husband smacking his wife around?
I could see that not being something Disney would get behind. For sure.
I'm not sure if that was in it, because Michael Douglas is playing Hank Pym.
Oh, he can smack anybody around. He probably smacks Catherine Zeta-Jones around once a week.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't. Again, I really wish I could read a script and find out what would make Marvel not want to make his movie, but it's interesting to just kind of think about, though, like, is this the tipping point? Is this where Marvel started out as kind of a gutsy company, and now they've got some success, and with the more success that you have, the more people that want to put their fingers into the pot, and is Disney behind some of this Edgar Wright, these Edgar Wright decisions? Is Marvel losing autonomy? Like,
I'm just going to go ahead and say I think it's a conspiracy theory. I'm going to guess that they were going to make Ant-Man a playable character within Disney Infinity, showcase the white theater scene or the criminality aspect. They were like, well, that's just going to screw up all of our toy sales. This can't happen. Scott Pilgrim. That's the best theory.
You know what? Ant-Man was in the Avengers the whole time.
What, you mean in the comics?
No, I mean in the movie. I mean, you can't see him, but what if he's there?
Right. I see what you're saying. That took a minute to sink in. I'm a little slow on the uptake today. I apologize. So,
I mean, we're all talking about how great Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are your opinions about, like, the other Marvel movies, like X-Men or, Spider-Man or the new Fantastic Four reboot? What are your thoughts on that?
Benjamin, please tell us about Spider-Man 2 and your love and adoration for that film.
Oh my goodness, it sucks. No, I was pissed. I was pissed during that movie. It
You went,
literally
you
made
went
me angry.
so happy.
I
Like
the,
we
the
all
the thing that
got.
gets me is that they got like some things so right, and then the fact that they messed up so much of the other stuff, it just and I felt like they were taking us back to like the '90s era of Schumacher movies. It just with the hyper stylized like cartoony villains. I was just like,
Well, you know,
this is the
it's weird.
wrong
Like I
direction.
read some article that actually pointed out it was probably on Crack. That's where I get a lot of my stuff from. Is they were showing just how many bizarre parallels there were between Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Batman Forever. Like Mr. Freeze being a misunderstood scientist, Electro being a misunderstood scientist, and they're both blue. And there's just a lot of weird little things like that. Or
Well, it's funny
what was
because
Bane? Bane paralleled somebody. I can't remember who though.
the scene with Electro at the Ravencroft Institute with the like cartoony over the top scientist guy that
Oh
had
yeah.
lipstick on for some reason, like that scene, their interaction, I was like, am I watching Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mr. Freeze right now? What's happening? Like I
Right.
felt like it was a scene literally out of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I don't know who stepped in during that scene and was like, this needs to be far creepier. Who has some lipstick?
I don't yeah, there's some directorial decisions in that movie that I just do not understand.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what's bridging the gap between or filling in, what's missing for this whole Edgar Wright situation. Maybe Disney saw that scene and was like, there's no way this is happening in our movie.
Yeah, I don't know what Sony's doing with Spider-Man. I don't know that they're doing anything smart with the franchise.
They don't have to do anything smart. They just have to
No,
do it.
they just have to run with
Which
Just-
makes me so depressed
so often.
because I love Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What have you guys seen Days of Future Past yet? The newest X-Men movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that one.
What'd you guys think of it? I personally haven't seen it, but the end has already been spoiled for me, and I'm not talking
Okay,
about
so we can spoil stuff with reckless abandon things. I was about to say, like, how are we going to talk about this?
Yeah.
Like how did the time travel? Like how is that possible?
Well, it's possible through Kitty Pryde, who apparently has those powers, which I didn't understand where that came from, but whatever. The most positive aspect of this movie, to me, was basically it's a reset of the X-Men franchise,
Right.
and all those characters that died are alive, and thank goodness because they need to redo those storylines.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like I felt weird. It's like they completely erased X-Men 3 from existence. Like that shit just never
I was
happened.
like,
Pretty
holy
much.
crap, Cyclops is alive. I love this. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
Actually give him a good character this time.
But it's weird that, like, despite the fact that they were able to right so many wrongs when the series started to go downhill, there are still some continuity errors that are just undeniable. And I think one of the biggest ones that was pointed out to me was Professor Xavier having grown up with Raven / Mystique, and yet in the first two X-Men movies he shows like no familiarity with her whatsoever, pretty much. So there's no way you can really write around that.
Well, the thing is,
Apparently.
the thing with this movie in the fact that it's essentially it messes with the timeline is there technically isn't a continuity error in that with that particular aspect of it because we haven't experienced anything yet because it'd be really easy for the writers to kind of like adjust something as they go along in these movies so that if we are to include X-Men 1 and 2, that could be explained. So like it just hasn't happened yet. But the question is, does X-Men 1 and 2 actually exist?
Oh, that I hadn't considered actually.
Because
yeah, I guess technically all of those events could be completely non-existent anymore.
yeah, like they're not beholden to anything anymore in this franchise. So other than the fact that they showed that Cyclops and Jean Grey are alive, So
it's all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and I guess we'll find out in the next X-Men movie. But,
I don't understand that reference, Zeke.
Of course not, because you haven't made it past.
I've watched a little bit. Shut up.
My favorite scene probably is the Quicksilver scene.
Yes, it was so good.
Like, he was the one I was the most worried about before because he looked stupid, and he still technically looks stupid.
He looked horrible. Oh my god.
But his scene is awesome, and it made me want a little more out of the character, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, I would have killed for just one or two more scenes with him in it. And it's so weird because you're right. He was the Quicksilver I expected to be the worst out of the two, and yet still weird to me because both of those actors that are both playing Quicksilver in different movies played together in Kick-Ass, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let's just say it, man. Apocalypse.
Yes, Apocalypse.
I'm excited though. I hope they do something visually with him, because at the post credits tease, I was like, oh, I hope that's not what you look like.
Well,
I mean,
I don't think he'll still
lad. He still has to go through mutant puberty, I guess.
Yeah, well, because they were showing him like in ancient Egypt, weren't they? Isn't that what he was doing, building the pyramids?
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be
the Four Horsemen, like right.
I did see that.
That would be cool. Like maybe they could do an Angel storyline with Archangel, but I don't know if you could do that in one movie. But that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Have Ben Foster come back. I think that was his name.
The other played Angel in X. Was it X2 or X3? No, I can't remember.
X3.
It was X-Men 3. He was Angel appeared.
Yeah.
X-Men 3, the X-Men movie that shall not be named.
Right.
I mean, I did like that. It was very specific that X-Men 3 does not exist. Like the other two, like it's up in the air, but it's very specific. X-Men 3, it doesn't exist. We're sorry.
Right. I'll tell you what, something else I liked about the new X-Men movie was that I just like Wolverine having bone claws. I always thought that was novel whenever you get to see a comic where he had those. So having him just, back with those for the whole movie, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. It was an enjoyable movie. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite X-Men movie, but it's up there.
Oh yeah, I thought it was certainly on par with First Class.
Yeah, I still say First Class is the best.
I'll be curious to hear your thoughts after you see the new X-Men, Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke, we'll just dedicate a whole episode just to you talking about X-Men Days of Future Past.
And this guy was cool, and Iceman did his ice slidey thing, which I did see that in the trailer. It did look pretty cool.
Yeah, I did enjoy.
What did you see in the trailer?
Iceman doing his ice slide.
So with Ant-Man possibly or apparently still leading off Phase 3, what are you guys looking forward to in terms of what Marvel Studios is going to do with their continued franchise as well as new characters, which I think we can all pretty much assume Doctor Strange is happening.
Oh yeah. Now I'm curious, because I certainly want to see a Doctor Strange movie, but who would you cast as Doctor Strange? I have to ask.
Zeke, you got anybody in mind?
Yeah, I do. It's gonna sound weird, but I would say Johnny Depp because he
That's what I was gonna say.
Strange look.
I would have to say that I would hope Johnny Depp never steps inside a Marvel movie.
Aww.
Dude, he is Disney's go-to guy. I mean, did you see The Lone Ranger?
I didn't see, but why is he playing an Indian?
Because he can play anything, Ben. It's magic.
Because do you guys remember the time, in the 50s or 60s or whatever, when white people would play different ethnicities, and they would just doll them up with tan skin, or play with their eyes or something if they need to be Asian.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that kind of that racism felt prevalent in the Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp. Like, it felt like they were bringing back an old school style racism by allowing him to play a Native American.
Why do you have to ruin my beautiful Johnny Depp Doctor Strange fantasy by bringing racism into this?
He's too old. He's too old now. He's lost it, I think.
Nobody plays eccentric like Mr. Depp. I think he'd be solid.
All right. Well, Ben, who do you think should play Doctor Strange?
Anyone else?
Yeah, Ben. Negative Nancy.
I don't know. I'm looking around the room for inspiration. Sylvester Stallone. Done. No.
Oh God.
Perfect.
No.
We're going to fight.
I don't know who I would pick for Doctor Strange. I mean, I guess it depends on like the, what they're aiming as far as age range.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, his backstory is he was a surgeon originally, correct? Is that right, Zeke?
Yeah.
And then didn't he get an injury that prevented him from continuing surgery, and that's when he
crashed his car and then like broke his hands and somehow traveled up a mountain in the Far East and found a monastery and started practicing sorcery.
What if we just get Robert Downey Jr. to be?
Yeah, it's weird. I was kind of thinking that. I mean,
he can play both roles, I'm sure.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like, I hate the idea of a Doctor Strange movie because I personally do not like Doctor Strange. But I like the idea, since Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be more featured in space, you need something kind of like more focused in magic, and I think that would be the gate that opens up the flood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the kind of like aspect of the Marvel universe they haven't really hit on is the mystical, the magic area. Like Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely hitting that cosmic tone. So I think Doctor Strange is going to be the next one. But after Doctor Strange, Ms. Marvel?
I would like to see Ms. Marvel. That would be good.
I have zero interest in Ms. Marvel.
There's room for a female superhero.
But that's the thing. Like, Hollywood's never real hot on female leads, though.
They aren't, and that's part of why I feel like Marvel should take the lead. Because I mean, look at the movies with female leads that have had great success recently, like Frozen and the Hunger Games movies. Like, there's a market for it. You just gotta find it.
Yeah, will Marvel be the studio to take that risk?
Yeah, you gotta have the studio take the risk, which until someone does, like, they. I mean, I'm assuming there's gonna be a Wonder Woman movie eventually, but I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about let's just say this, but before we continue, like for the next episode, do you guys want to talk about Batman versus Superman and what the Justice League movie, how that might all come together?
That would be a good one to dig into.
Okay.
How wonderfully Warner Brothers has handled all their superhero movies.
Yeah. What superhero movie?
Before I forget, like Ben, you had mentioned like Marvel taking a turn to the a more mystical direction for Phase 3 with the advent of Doctor Strange, and one of the things that I'm curious about is if that will also be where we'll see the actual Mandarin, or because what was it? Wasn't there that Marvel short? Because like we all saw Iron Man 3.
Blu-ray. It was called. I forget the name of the short, but yeah, the Mandarin, the real Mandarin, busted into a prison to either kill or kidnap the Mandarin of Iron Man 3.
Right. And I mean, certainly, I mean, in the Mandarin's actual history, like, that's kind of a mystical villain. Although he allegedly got his rings from what, alien technology?
Alien technology.
So I think that would just fit together perfectly with the kind of stuff that we're seeing line up with Guardians of the Galaxy, for example. And I mean, just the Infinity Gauntlet in general.
Yeah, I want to know if like Thanos is gonna like either have another cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy, or at the end of the Avengers 2, and then that's going to spring for the Avengers 3.
I think it'll be the big reveal at the end. That's what my money's on.
Yeah, though apparently Joss Whedon might be done after Avengers 2.
Really? That's tragic.
Yeah, and there's due to the recent departure of Marvel Studios interference, like that people are assuming like Whedon is leaving because he's unhappy at Marvel, which again we'll never know because we're not in that situation. But it also might just be that he has created after Avengers 2, he will have done 2 really big budget movies, and he just might be tired.
Yeah, I mean that could take a lot out of you, and plus he's doing the Agents of Shield too. Or did he just?
Well, he wrote the first episode. I don't think he's not heavily involved. Which to me is evident because it doesn't feel like a Joss Whedon show to me. Not necessarily.
See.
Sorry. I mean, Marvel is going to have their Netflix series, which is going to be Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and that's going to spin off into the Defenders, and that's only on Netflix. And then they also have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they're also going to have Agent Carter.
Which I'm excited about that one.
You are excited about that one?
I'm excited about Agent Carter.
Why?
Again, it's kind of like they're making room for this, like a female-led series. I liked Agent Carter. I think that there's a lot of cool stories they could tell, because it's a period piece. I think there's a lot of room for some really cool stuff to be told there, and not be tied down necessarily to everything else that's happening in the movies. So it could kind of live on its own and not be so like I feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is so affected by the movies that like they're working within a very limited realm, and Agent Carter technically has to work overall, but there's so much backstory there that you can just kind of have free reign.
See, just speaking to that briefly, I just want to say that I'm super happy that these series are going to be coming to Netflix, because I feel like they'll have flexibility there and the ability to tell some darker stories and not be kind of hamstrung as in the same way they will be by like a cable TV network.
Yes.
Because when I look at Daredevil operates in Hell's Kitchen, that he's the guardian devil, and he's never going to save the world like on Avengers scale type situation. He just beats ass in Hell's Kitchen, and I just want to see that outlined in the best possible way on Netflix. After seeing series like House of Cards or Orange is the New Black, I know that they're capable of putting out some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm most excited about the Netflix stuff. I mean, even though Drew Goddard is no longer attached, but I think a Marvel TV series fits right at home in like the Netflix model. I think it's a much better fit than being on ABC.
Or I would even argue that in some ways it's better than even being on film, because they kind of with the series you have the ability to tell much longer arcs and kind of develop them over a much longer period of time, but then you can let the viewer watch it at their own pace. Very similar to comics, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think TV is where a lot of superhero stories should be probably told, but I also like the big spectacle of the movies, so I want both.
And luckily we're getting
on.
Yeah. That's the amazing thing. I think we're getting both.
So, if we were going to wrap this whole thing up, how do you feel just generally on a scale of 1 to 10 about the future of the Marvel Universe, be it Netflix, conventional TV, film? What do you think? Like, how comfortable are you?
Zeke, do you want to go first? Or...
Oh yeah, sure. I would say like a 9. Like I'm really excited where they're going. I mean, Marvel Studios has not put out a bad movie, and yeah, it is disappointing to hear Edgar Wright has left Ant-Man, but I mean, I'm still gonna go see it. I still kind of have faith for it, unlike other movies that are coming out that I have absolutely no faith for. And then just hearing like I'm actually gonna see a live action Iron Fist like like show on Netflix, which is awesome because he's like personally one of my favorite like Marvel characters.
Right.
And they're doing it with like I wouldn't say like A plus members of the Marvel universe. Like they're kind of going down. I mean, you already had Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, the A plus, and then they're kind of going down the list. So I mean, it's only a matter of time until like, say if you like Mr. Immortal, they're gonna throw you the Great Lake Avengers, and you're just gonna be like the one of 5 people like I love that guy.
When is Squirrel Girl getting her own TV series?
You know what? It would be awesome if she appeared during the Defenders, like maybe season 2. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage have a baby, and then you know what? They hire her to be a babysitter. Call it.
What about you, Ben?
Even though the recent news has made me severely bummed, I still hope for the best with Marvel. Like I want them to continue and make like really great films and keep expanding the Marvel universe. And like I never really knew about Guardians of the Galaxy until I saw James Gunn is directing Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but James Gunn has me really excited for it. And then I see the trailer, and it looks absolutely amazing. Like it's the movie I'm most looking forward to this summer, and I like the direction and the plans that Marvel seems to have, even if sometimes they do it in a not so nice way.
Right on. I would say myself, I feel probably about a 7 on a 1 to 10, and the only reason I say that is because, yes, it's awesome that Marvel really has had just like hit after hit after hit, and certainly, you know, it's going to be another blockbuster whenever Age of Ultron makes its debut, but my only real fear is, and I feel like this Edgar Wright situation is kind of evidence of that, is I don't want Marvel to get so super successful that they start kind of thinking that it's kind of their way or the highway, and certainly they have some right to that because they are, you know, it is their characters, and you know, there's a massive amount of history there, you know, for them to play around with. But I wouldn't want to see somebody who has already proven themselves to be incredibly talented, like Mr. Wright, and then basically kind of have their spin just immediately shut out because Marvel's not going to be open to any like new ideas for their characters. So I'm still excited about it, but I'm a little. I mean, as situations like this pile up, it makes me a little iffy on if we're going to be missing out in some way going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Marvel Studios will falter. They'll fail eventually. I just hope that we get this a good run, and I'm hoping this run continues, you know, for many years to come. Before they start to lose their quality.
Sure. All right, so you heard it here. Basically, we're all kind of butthurt about Edgar Wright, but at the same time, we're still fairly pumped for the Marvel Universe and its future. Make sure you stay tuned next time. We'll probably just dissect DC movies in general, I would guess, at this point. Zeke, thanks so much for being on. Ben, thank you so much for being on.
Spider-Man 2 sucks.
What did you say?
I said Spider-Man 2 sucks.
Oh, come on.
I should preference Amazing Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2, Raimi's version, I give a thumbs up.
Don't ego inflate love for Sam Raimi. So, but yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. Make sure you tune in next time. We're going to be doing this. Basically, I think at least Zeke and I, or some members of Geeks Podcast, almost daily, really. And I'm sure we're going to bring Ben back as much as we can entice him to do so sexually. But yeah, so don't forget to subscribe to Geeks Podcast. Yeah, very. And Monster Popcorn as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.